Kia ora. Last week I made a reel about human design and what it is really about. And it's about giving us a map, a way to return our decision-making power back to our body. Because the reality for most human beings is that we make decisions and from our mind, from past experiences that are stored in the mind, from conditioning that is the mind. And what human design is suggesting is that, hey, look, the mind might know stuff. However, it's not here to guide us through the life. It's just this archive of like what's already happened in the past, what we've seen, what we've learnt, but that knowledge doesn't necessarily equip us for making decisions for where we're going. And I use this example of the mind being like the government and the body being tangata whenua. And all around the world, there are examples after examples of tangata whenua, indigenous peoples of the land, fighting, marching, in activism, protecting the land, the whenua, of a place, of the place that we belong, of the place that we are connected to deeply. And it's like, saying, it's like us saying, like, listen to us. We know what is, like, we know how to be one with the land. Like, let us have the decision-making power, right? And the mind's like, no. And on it goes. It's so tiring. Well, in that example, we understand how tiring that is, just doing the same old shit that doesn't work and it's not ecological for everybody. It's only benefiting short term. Like, we as Indigenous people know that struggle oh so well. And what I'm proposing here, right, is that what I proposed in this reel is that example is like life, our soul going, silly fucking human, stop listening to this and like get in the body and listen, for goodness sake. Like, we say we want to go here, we say we want to do this, we say we want to start a new path in life, a business, a new kaupapa, whatever it is, and then toot, then we stop. Why? Because the mind's like, unsafe. In these videos I've been making last week, I'm like, the soul, the body gets excited, and then the mind's like, shush. And we listen to that shush. We listen to it, right? So life is asking us to return, life is asking us to follow the excitement, the joy, the things that we're inspired to do. Life is asking us to do that. The body wants to support us to do that, and the mind's like, shush. And we listen to that shush. And then we have conditioning in our head from past family members or, past generations that are like, it's best that, that you listen to the shush. It's, uh, it's, it's just so, the conditioning is so strong, right? And we are being asked, I believe, we are being asked to really sharpen up how we're living and get into our body, get with a new program here. So if we want, Yeah. Did you see that? Did you see that? Are we getting that? Kapai. The lights are like flickering. So back to that. Okay. We want the governments to listen. And yes, we do. And I believe, and what I'm here to share is that I believe on a collective level, life is really asking us to listen to our body, to listen to our soul, to start getting like sharpening up so that we can do what is required to be our highest, bestest version, to be the most sharpened asset that we can be to the collective. That's what's being asked of us right now. Um, I believe. And if you feel me, you feel me, and you'll continue to watch the stuff I'm putting out. So why am I saying we're being asked? Personal development 2-3 years ago was a nice to have, was optional. It really was. There was a lot of it, and you could take your pick. Not everyone did it. Some people are excited to do it, but working on developing our emotional intelligence, our mindset, te mea, all of that, it was optional. That's how I like to describe it. Now it's like essential. It's essential if you want to stay grounded through what is about to come. And I know you would have heard this in other places and other people like me who keep our eye on the prize and we keep our finger on the pulse and we are here to observe what is happening in the collective. Like there are people like me out there and I've heard them saying the same things. And if you know what we're on about, you'll be like, okay, you'll be feeling some type of way with when you hear this kōrero. Because before the same shit would happen, like people would be able to put up with the same things happening over and over again, okay? And just like the hamster wheel thing, like just on the same shit day in, day out. And to a point they were able to like handle that. But we're in a new kind of game where like things are happening on a collective level to humanity and they're big shifts. They're big things happening. Like they're rocking our value systems, our ideals, our attitudes. Like there's potential for bigger division, all of this stuff. It's big stuff. It's big kind stuff. Okay, before it was like small kind stuff like our household, like our day-to-day, like, and we could handle it. This is big kind stuff, okay? And we need to up level to be able to handle it. So, where am I going? Okay, well, I have some notes here, so I'll just follow those. So I trust that landed about like government being the mind, and tangata whenua being the body, and as we're seeing out in the world, tangata whenua, Indigenous peoples are trying to fight for our rights to make decisions, for our own tinoranga tiratanga, and there's just so much opposition to that, and just so much like no, shh. And we have to fight, and we have to fight. The reason for me being out here sharing is because I always believe that life is reflecting something deeper. Life is always reflecting something within us. And so if I look at it through that lens, it looks like to me that life is asking us to listen to our body, life is asking more of us because these games are like upping out in the world stage. They're like upping, and so that's telling me we're being asked to listen as in on an individual level, and as an individual in the collective. We're seeing these collective things playing out on big kind scale, and what that tells me is that we're being asked as individuals to return the decision making back to our body, which is human design and gene keys. So that's what I'm going to share. Period. I was just watching the doco Hikoi, Speaking Our Truth, which was the Hikoi that was for the Foreshore and Seabed in 2004. It was a documentary film for that. And I'm just like, wow, this very week in 2024, so 20 years later, our whānau are preparing to hikoi back home from the top of the North Island to Ika Maui to the bottom of Te Ika Maui to Parliament. The same hikoi that was done 20 years ago over the foreshore and seabed is about to happen for our Tiriti o Waitangi. Same shit happening, but bigger scale, bigger impact, but same thing. So I'm sitting here, and I was listening to Tamati, the journalist, Tamati Rimene Sprout. He was talking to Papa Tame Iti, and Tame was talking about, the importance of fighting, and standing up for our rights, but always remaining peaceful, humari, peaceful. Never lose sight of that. Don't get too chaotic to where we get lost in the anger and the chaos. But you must fight. You must stand up for your rights, and otherwise the government will just do what they do, Sneak, sneak, creep, creep, steamroll, add in these bills everywhere, right? And I thought, and here we are again, exact same situation. So tiring for our people. And it's so tiring watching common sense leave the room time and time and again when it comes to these systems and these governments. Anywho, so I'm sitting here, whānau, going, oh, do I go home? Do I, do I book flights home and like go to the march? Do I, and we get, I wish I could just like sit down, chill out, watch fucking TV for the night. But this is what it is to be tangata whenua of somewhere, to be Indigenous. It's like that connection back home is always calling. That responsibility, that kuleana. And I'm sitting here like, what do I do? What do I, what are my options here? What is my part? With people back home marching, activating, supporting, leading, kaupapa, and sometimes it can feel like, what am I up to? And so I had to get out pen and paper and be like, right, here's what I'm up to, and this is where I decided to like bring a wider perspective to this, because I'm like, if I sit here and be like, oh, what am I even doing, getting down, then I'm not going to do the thing that I know is of use and of value. There's always different roles in any kaupapa. There's many different roles. The people marching are just as important as the people feeding them as they march. Just as important as the whānau members that aren't marching, who are staying home and holding it down. Everyone plays their part. So here I am in Ahitereiria, on a different whenua to my own and asking myself, what is it? What's my part? So here's what I have to share about that. As you can see, I just got emotional then, just about the incompetency, right? Like for people who use a lot of logic and the mind, governments and things, to because of the way we as Indigenous think, it's so fucking frustrating that it's like common sense is just not even right there. And it's because they're thinking totally different. The values are totally different. The ideals and attitudes are totally different. And it's frustrating um, that, it's frustrating because they don't have this connection, this kuleana, this connection to the whenua. Like, it's not there. So what we're feeling, they don't feel. And that's frustrating, but we have to fight. And uh, and so I'm never saying that. There's I believe, like when I was listening to Tame, Papa Tame speaking about, be peaceful but always fight and stand up and be present 100%. Because otherwise if you do nothing, then you do nothing. And, they'll just do what they're gonna do. So I thought, what can I do? And I've written down here, if we've always done something a certain way, which our people, we know how to stand up, fight, get it done, right? If we know to do something a certain way and we've always done it that way, but then someone else can see or knows a more efficient way of doing something to be of service, um, that ideally would be shared. But my approach as a projector is not to push it or say we should do this because our people be, set in their ways sometimes, and I love that about us, because we don't get pushed around, right? And we're solid. That our mana comes from there. So no, I'm not going to push it. I'm going to just share the examples and the experiences and the stories about what this other way could look like. And I'm going to share the examples and the experiences of others with permission. And I trust that what will start to unfold will unfold, and what will happen will happen. I'm here for working smart, not hard. And I'm not saying that how we have been fighting or how we have been showing up as a like inefficient way, or like even though I'm using those words, or like hard is like not the right way. It's been the way that we've been doing it, and there's no fault in that. I just think that there's a better way, a more organized and efficient way to go about us standing for our rights, standing for our tino rangatiratanga, all of that. And this is how. We've always been a doing kind of people, for example. And this is applicable and can work for anybody, but this is just the example that I'm giving because it's top of mind and it's right here. We've always been a get done, get organised, like watch our marae come together. Watch who we come together. Kaupapa come together for the right cause. Wow. It's amazing. It is amazing what we can do when we come together. Um, Now, with the journey ahead, because there's going to be so many, because like these kaupapa, we come together and we organise, it's usually, for a certain kaupapa, and then we go back, have our rest, and, you know, but the stamina that's going to be required, like I was just reading a post tonight saying shit's about to get horrendous with this, and it already has been for at least since COVID, like, it's been horrendous. Just the A factor is just like, it's just gonna keep going. And so we need to improve our emotional stamina to continue the fight, continue the mahi, continue the growth, can go the distance. And so this is what I'm sort of here to share and propose, and share experiences on. Any kaupapa or any environment where there are many people organising and coming together and where outcomes are important, there are three main areas that are affected greatly. I haven't actually said how we're going to do it, so hold on, I'll get to that. There are three areas that are affected greatly if they're not managed properly or if they're not strengthened as you go, and that is resources, time, energy, money, relationships, and self-esteem. Okay, so what I see currently is that we can organise kaupapa like that, and based on our values of manaakitanga, aroha, I've said manaki, all of them, like all of our Māori values. I'm just like listening in my head. We know the ones, okay? Based on aroha, manaakitanga, koteitanga, all of them, we can come together for a kaupapa and boof, like absolutely punch it out. Like, you know, you go to the marae and you're up at like 6, 5:36, and then you're in bed at 1 a.m. and then you get up and you do it all again and you're just like, what is even life? But we get it done. You know what I mean? That is what I'm talking about. We like just smash it. And everyone, and you're fueled by this beautiful, like, oh, and we're good for a weekend or two doing that, for a kaupapa. That kind of energy is what's going to be needed. That kind of like sustenance is what's going to be needed, like moving forward, like boom, boom, boom. And so we need some help with that. And here's what I see. Anybody in any scenario can push through with adrenaline for a kaupapa, for a cause, for a short time. Anyone. I'm a projector and I can mahi harder, like, than, like, I can mahi just as hard as anyone on the marae in the kitchen. And I'm a projector. And yes, I'm dead for the next week, but I show up, and that's what I mean. Anyone can show up for a kaupapa, for a cause, and be fueled by who knows what for a short time. But for a long time, we need training. We need to develop our stamina, our sustenance emotionally, mentally, physically. So here's where I'm going with this. If we don't create that stamina to be able to sustain physically, mentally, emotionally, resourcefully, if we don't create that stamina and we try and like show up for kaupapa and like if we do that like on pure adrenaline, it's not going to last. We're going to fizzle out because we're human. And that's why I was saying that the three main areas that get affected the most are resources, relationships, and self-esteem. When we don't manage these properly. And so generally we've got people to manage the people, and we've got people to manage the resources. But who's managing the self-esteem of a kaupapa, of a collective, of a group, of an individual? Okay? So, right, if we don't build the stamina to sustain us in our mahi, in our kaupapa, in our fight, in our work, then we're just going to be forcing and using this adrenaline-based boof, boof, boof kind of, energy that's only meant for like short-term kaupapa. Now, here's why we need to build long-term stamina. One, I'll give you 3 examples, but there'll be more as I talk. You'll think of them yourself. I was watching Scribe, MC Scribe. If you don't know who he is, at the age of like very young, in his 20s, early 20s, this Polynesian rap artist in Aotearoa blew up, very famous in Aotearoa in Australia. And then a couple of years in, it all fell to shit. And he was a drug addict, addicted to methamphetamine, was, I think he went to jail on drug and firearm charges, te me te mea. Anyways, in his documentary, which is like 20 years later, where he's come back into the scene after 20 years, okay, and he's telling his story, there was this one line where he said he didn't feel good enough. He didn't feel enough to have that much fame and fortune. And he tried to kill the image of MC Scribe. That's what he wanted to kill that image. Example number 2. I was watching an Australian film, Last Cab to Darwin, and an Aboriginal character, Tilly, signed on to play for Essendon, which is a AFL team here in Victoria. And he didn't go. In his character, he was explaining he didn't go. He didn't go to the camp, to the training camp. He said he had a baby on the way, and he had to stay on country and look after his family. But later on, in another scene, he admitted to his mate that actually he was just scared, and he was scared of the opportunity. He was scared of the unknown. Then he got a second chance later on in the movie to join this team. And a week before the game, he went into the long grass, which is a place where, the mob hang out and they drink. And he was absolutely fucked. A week before, then we will self-sabotage ourselves. And the circumstances that we're creating. And so I share those 3 stories because it's relationships, resources, and self-esteem that can be unconsciously sabotaged the most when we're working towards something. So if we don't know how to manage our inner world, if we don't know how to emotionally navigate our inner world, the unseen world, the unconscious world, where the show is actually run, okay? If we don't know how to manage that, then things will play out in our experience, when things are going good, something will mess up. And it's because there is, on an unconscious level, there are beliefs, there are attitudes that we're not good enough, and so we're going to sabotage those. And my approach here is that to build that stamina for the long game, to stay solid, to stay strong, to stay sharp, is to train in the unconscious, unseen inner world realm, to understand why you do what you do and why you don't do what you don't do, understand why others do what they do and why others don't do what they don't do, to have a training, to train ourselves, especially, and I made another video for this, but I'm here to help people who help people. So I'm really talking to those of you who help people and who lead kaupapa and who lead service-based businesses. So I'm talking to the leaders who are helping people, who are putting together spaces in kaupapa and businesses that, help people to heal, thrive, get the best out of life. We need to make sure that from a leadership point of view, we have that. We are training ourselves to understand our unconscious behavior, how behavior is impacted unconsciously. And if we don't, then the only thing that will be available to us is the forcing for a short term, and we won't have the stamina to go long term. So if we want the stamina to go long term and we want to be sustainable, then we need to understand how our inner world impacts our outer world. And when we can do that as leaders, then who we're leading and the kaupapa we're leading, the businesses we're leading, the movements we're leading, these are going to be more organized, more efficient. We're going to know how to help those in our organizations on our kaupapa to also to be aware of their own inner world. So I think 3 years ago, 3 years ago, it was like optional for people to know their inner world, for leaders to know their inner world. Now it's essential that you know your inner world, because your inner world and the level of the quality of connection that you have to yourself is going to reflect the quality of connections that you have around you. And for the mahi that we're doing and for the distance that we be going, you want to make sure that you got solid people around you. So that means that you have to ensure that you're solid within. So within Kapa Ora Collective, I'm wrapping up a few projects, but over the next so often, I'll be sharing exactly how I'm going to be sharing this mātauranga and teaching this knowledge. Just to give you an idea, it's going to look like sort of like what you would expect to come to some classes, like weekly classes, but what you're learning is online weekly classes, and what you're learning is, and what you'll be trained in is understanding your inner world. So just if this is talking to you, just keep an ear out for that. If you think you haven't heard anything, reach out to me, or just look back through my page, and yeah, we're going to get that up and running for the new year. To have these spaces that are accessible to many people, where you can be trained to create the stamina and sustainability for long-term growth. Okay? So, let's go. Ka kite.